There's a quiet gap that exists in a lot of henna businesses. Not because the artist isn't skilled, not because the work isn't beautiful, not because the content isn't consistent, but because the audience doesn't really know the person behind the art. This is marketing mistake number 30, not sharing stories that build trust. And this one is subtle because on surface, everything looks fine in your marketing. You're posting your work, you're showing your henna designs, you're documenting what you do, but you're not letting people see inside. And without stories, connection stays very shallow. Here's the truth that most henna artists don't realize until much later. Clients don't trust portfolios. They trust people. A portfolio shows what you can do, but a story shows who you are. And booking decisions happen at the intersection of both. A lot of newer artists avoid storytelling because they think they don't have anything special to share. You might tell yourself, my journey isn't dramatic, I don't want to overshare, I don't want to make this about me. But storytelling doesn't require drama, it just requires presence. It's not about turning your life into content or becoming an influencer. It's about offering context. Letting someone understand how you work, why you care, and what it feels like to be in your space. Without that, you stay distant. Polished, yeah, maybe, but distant nonetheless. And distance doesn't build trust. Stories do. Think about the last time you booked a service, not a product, a service, okay? Maybe hair, photography, coaching, any service that required trust to be present in the room. Chances are something personal is what tipped the scale. A story, a value, a moment that made you think, I feel comfortable with this person. That's what stories do. They bridge the gap between artist and trusted provider. And here's something important that I want you to hear about this. You do not need to share your entire life story. You do not need to trauma dump. You don't need to manufacture vulnerability. You just need to let people see you working with intention. Stories can be small. A moment with a client, a conversation you'll never forget, a challenge you worked through, a quiet win that mattered to you in some way. These types of moments humanize you, and humanization is what builds trust. Most henna artists only share outcomes. They share the finished design, the stain result, the final piece on the bride's hand. But trust is actually built in the process, in the before, in the during, in the care you bring to the experience. When you don't share stories, clients have to guess what it's like to work with you, and guessing creates hesitation. They'll wonder, will I feel comfortable? Will she understand what I want? Will it be awkward to be together in this person's space? And stories answer these questions before they're asked. Let me reframe storytelling in a way that might make it feel a little bit safer for your nervous system. You're not telling stories to impress your audience. You're telling stories in order to reassure potential clients, to say you're not just booking a service, you're booking a person who pays attention. That matters, especially at the beginning of your business, because trust isn't built through credentials alone. It's actually built through familiarity. And when someone has read your story, heard your voice, or seen how you treat people, you're no longer a stranger. You're a known entity, right? And people book who they feel they know. This is why stories don't just build engagement, they build conversion. Now, let's talk about the fear that comes up here because we don't want to leave that to the side unaddressed. The big question is, what if no one cares? They will, okay? Not because your story is extraordinary, but because it's human, right? People are wired for narrative. They remember stories far longer than they remember facts. They might forget the exact design that you posted 3 weeks ago, but they will remember the artist who made her client feel calm, the moment she talked about why she loves this work, the story about the client who trusted her for the first time. Those are the things that stick. And that's what builds trust over time. Now, here's what storytelling is not. It's not oversharing your personal life. It's not venting. It's not making every post about you. It's choosing moments that reflect your values, care, intention, presence, pride in your work. Those values are what clients are actually responding to, even if they can't articulate it or choose not to, okay? So now let's make this actionable because I want you to leave this video knowing exactly what to do to correct this marketing mistake if this is what is happening for you in your business right now. I want you to write one caption that tells a story. not a highlight reel, okay? A single moment. It could be a past client who stayed with you, a time you felt nervous but showed up anyway, a moment of joy during an appointment, a challenge you overcame quietly. Keep it really simple. This does not have to be complex, but set the scene, share what mattered, and explain why it stuck with you. You don't need a moral to the story. You don't need to give a lesson. This is just you sharing with honesty. All right. Now, I want you to pair that with a photo, not necessarily of a final design, but something that shows you, okay, you working, you preparing, you being present in your business. That single post will do more for trust than 10 perfectly edited design photos ever could. This is something that we support intentionally inside the Hennapreneur app, not turning you into a content creator, but helping you communicate trust, warmth, and professionalism in a way that feels aligned and sustained and really approachable, okay? You don't need to become someone else in order to be successful as a henna business, right? You just need to let people see you a little more clearly, because when clients trust you, they don't just book once. They come back, they refer, they advocate for you in your absence. And that kind of trust is built story by story. If this resonates with you, if you're ready to let your audience connect with you, not just admire your work, then I want you to download the Hennapreneur app. It's where we help move artists from showing what they do to being trusted for who they are. Your work already speaks for itself, friend. Okay, so now let's let your story do some of the talking too.